quite vital. Combat sports is our focus. Yes, combat sports is a competitive contact sport that usually involves one-on-one combat, and this shares age-long pedigree with martial arts. I mean, I'm talking about wrestling, boxing, fencing, karate, taekwondo, and a host of others. So this morning we are looking at this topic, combat sports, promoting friendship or brutality. And in this studio, I have two gentlemen, and they will be talking to us about this. Promoting friendship or brutality. Contact sports is our focus. Mr. Tosin Akonde, boxing, UFC, pro abolitionist. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good morning.
And also Coach Adesonya Abayomi, martial arts and karate coach. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, let me start with you, Mr. Tosin Akonde. UFC, boxing, pro abolitionist. What's your focus?
Thank you. Yeah, first and foremost, I need to distinguish between combat sports and the two particular areas of concern for my campaign. Combat sports, yes, involves a lot of bodily contact, and there are a list of sports that are here under, categorized. You have wrestling, boxing, karate, judo, and so on and so forth. But of the lot, I am particularly making a campaign that boxing and the UFC, the Ultimate Fight, championships, yes, it's not. I don't see it really as mixed martial arts, because for me, what is mixed martial arts or martial arts centers on self-discipline. Man by nature, we can be very, very terrible. Even the scriptures say so, both in the Quran, Holy Quran, and in the Holy Bible. That of the Bible I can remember very well, Genesis 6, verse 6, where God said clearly that, look, I made man, and I became very, very sour and sad about looking at the works of their hands. So man can naturally be very wicked. According to Thomas Hobbes in the 16th century, you all know what he said. He said life indeed can be very solitary, short, nasty, poor, and brutish. Having studied human beings, we are like that. But what we are saying is that if a man comes to attack, for instance, even in the law courts, you are entitled to the right of self-defense, all right, which is what sports like karate promotes. But we are talking about deliberate, organized fighting between two persons because money is involved. Money is at the heart of it. It's the root of all evils. And that's why I'm campaigning that in this age of enlightenment, gone were the days of what might is right. In those days, yes, old stone age, Paleolithic age. But now we are in an age of enlightenment. Why would I, for instance, be excited that I'm meting out, bodily grievous harm to somebody in the name of sports? It's a no-no.
Okay, Coach Adesonya Abayomi, let's go to the historical lane. When did the combat sports, where did it emanate from? Who emanated it? And which country did it come from, actually?
Okay, thank you very much, Ma. The first thing we're going to look at, if you're going to look at sports in general, okay, we have different type of combat sports. Now, I can speak more of karate, which is originated from Japan, but according to history, it is really originated from India. So as the man begin to go to different countries, establishing sports with the aim of self-defense. So if you're going to talk about combat sports, the martial art especially, is all about self-defense. And when we say combat, if you're going to break it down about combat is a fight between two people. And sometimes combat can also be resorted as a means of self-defense. So the origination of martial art especially was the purpose of self-defense. Like our colleague have said before, man by nature are wicked. So at a point in those days, people cannot defend themselves. In those days, some people, a nation can just stand up today and say, I want to conquer one nation, and let's go and conquer them. So as a result of this, some people develop an unarmed combat. Then you can't go with arms. So you have to go on unarmed. So karate was formed as a means of unarmed combat, purposely to defend yourself from any aggressive behavior, so that when you meet yourself in an undesired position, you can defend yourself. So that was the origin of karate, especially most martial arts like taekwondo, judo, karate, and others. So if you're talking about the origination, that is the purpose of it.
Okay,
Mr.
Mr. Akonde, the other time you were talking about, the way you were talking is as if you are not for that combat sports at all. You don't like it,
no,
especially boxing.
No. I have distinguished between the various categories of sports under combat sports. So for humanitarian purposes, that's why I am standing up to be counted amongst those at least who spoke up against this evil. Against man, it's like man's inhumanity to man.
Hold on, sir. If you speak against it, what happens to those who are using it as a means of income? Those who organize shows, who organize tournaments, who organize things and get income from it. What happens to them?
God bless you. I like you for this question. Now the issue is, if we are going to meet the requirements of a few, and then you are going to lose out on the majority, that's not proper. Everybody is not into promotion of the sanctioning bodies are just a few people somewhere in America or in Europe. I can list for you the categories of the sanctioning bodies there are. There's the World Boxing Organization, World Boxing Council, issues here. Okay, if I digress a little bit from the humanitarian concerns, which is the key of my argument, for the purposes of a human being, this is wrong. The history of boxing is such that some people just cashed in on that lapse. A lawyer will tell you a lacuna, that lacuna that is in the creation of man. Because boxing is as old as man. You fight bare knuckles. It's an instinct. Fighting is an instinct. But what we are saying is that we began to develop, we began to evolve, and found out that there are certain natural instincts that are not fit for men, for human beings.
Have you ever been a boxer before?
I don't have to. You know, because I'm talking about essentially, look, let's look at it from the cultural perspective. Combat sports is also here in Africa. We have Eke in Yoruba land, and I think in the Igbo land, a friend told me, because I did my research, but let's look at Eke Ijakadi, you know. So the Gidigbo, the victory point in our own wrestling here is for the back to touch the ground. Yeah. You don't have to hurt. You don't do what I'm saying is you don't deface me just to ensure that you are superior. And that is what they are doing out there. That's one. Two, must everything that moves the world come from Europe or from the West? I'm concerned about that. Can't an African sit down and also lend to developments in jurisprudence, to developments in medicine, in law, and so on and so forth? Can't we? And someone is saying that, look, this is wrong, no matter for how long it has been on. Humanitarian purpose, it is wrong. We are human beings. We cannot afford to be doing this to ourselves. Not even in this age when bodies like the UN are angling for world peace, and then you are promoting individual violence and brutality in the name of sports. That's even the more annoying thing. For example, let me say something more. In our Yoruba broadcast, for instance, and somebody comes and say, it's time for sports. Let me paraphrase it. Ere idaraya. Is that idaraya? Defacing somebody, is it idaraya? Eh?
Well,
is it? That's the question I'm asking.
Okay, Mr. Tosin Akonde, no, Adesoya Abayomi, you are a karate coach.
Yes.
I want your position on that. Yes, you talked about karate, a form of self-defense, but
yes.
some also argue that same thing with mixed martial arts, boxing. At times, when you know how to box, you may find yourself in a difficult situation. Then you put that to practice. What's your take on that? Are you also in support of Mr. Akonde's position about the abolishment of UFC, boxing, and the likes?
We are going to look at from the contents of the argument, which is putting friendship or brutality. Now, when we look at combat, what does combat mean? Fighting against two people and self-defense. Then when we look at sport, sport is an athletic activities between two individuals with the aim of winning a medal. Now, sports also promote friendship. before a certain sport can be allowed into, a combat can be allowed into the sporting activities, it might have gone through some, what's it called, what's the name I'm going to use, screening. There are some techniques that won't be allowed in the sporting activities. Like, for example, we have some techniques in karate, like using the elbow, which is not allowed in the competition arena. Now, when we have different type of friendship. We have a friendship for pleasure, which is about someone you are getting something from. Friendship of good, which is respect and administration. Now, I'm going to come from the point of friendship of good into the sports. When two people, I'm talking much more about from karate's perspective because that is what I know. When two opponents comes together on the tatami, which is called, the tatami is where we compete. One thing at the back of our mind is that we are not coming to fight. We are coming to score a point. And the moment they see anything like fighting, they stop. You are scoring a point. And there are some rules that there are some techniques you don't go to the face in karate. So once you score your point, they stop the match, they award the point. So at the end, before you start the fight, before you start the competition, now we are not fighting, we are competing in the karate. I'm talking much more of karate perspective. So you respect one another by taking a bow. After the competition, they now go together again, you respect, you shake hands. So and after that time, we always analyze, I think I made a mistake here, I'm supposed to apply this technique, that's why you won. So after the whole thing, sports to me has really made a lot of friends all over the world. Even recently, there was a Zoom training online by one master that have to involve every karateka all over the world join through the Zoom. So in my own view, from that point, sport has really promoted a lot of friendship, especially combat sports. Remember, combat is fighting against violence. You can use arm on somebody, but with the mindset of combat sport.
So is UFC or boxing promoting friendship or brutality?
For me, you know, sometimes UFC is also a form of entertainment.
Okay.
They bring in entertainment in a form. Maybe some people are enjoying the heart. Some people like it. Even most martial arts like watching the what's it called, the UFC, which we have even Nigerians, Israel Adesanya, Usman, Francis Ngannou, yes, yes. So to me, because sometimes after the whole, maybe from the point people are looking at it from, a form of intimidation is one of the way of winning your opponent. Try to intimidate him and scare him so that he can't. Even if you watch wrestling, for example, before the fight, even someone that knows that this is going to lose, we just try to motivate himself and say, at the end, it's going to go out.
Coach, hold on, Mr. Akonde. Hold on. Okay. I want to take Coach Abayomi on. You said competition.
Yes.
And there is fighting.
Yes.
Does it go, when you are competing, you want to overpower the other person or win the other person? And when you are fighting, you want to overpower and show the other person that you have that power to bring the person down. Okay. So where is the correlation there? You said competing to win.
Okay,
fighting to win.
Now I understand you now. I'm going to speak much more from karate's point of view.
Yes.
By the time we are competing, there are some forms.
Bring hatred.
It doesn't bring hatred.
Okay.
In karate, the way we were trained is a mind discipline. I'm trying to look for an opening just to score my point. And in karate, our scoring point is not a beam that even if by mistake it makes a sound, they stop the match and penalize you.
What
it's
of
a touch.
Other combative sports? We're talking about karate. Boxing is there.
That's why I said he's talking essentially about his own
I want
karate.
him to look at other sports too, under these combative sports. Okay. What about others? You are talking about karate, that it is competition per se. The other one, they have to punch
yes,
and tell the other person that I have this power. So what happens? Is the competition? Actually,
if you're looking at from the National Sports Festival and boxing competitions, there are also rules from different from what's it called, the international, the advanced weight. So when it comes to the sporting aspect, there are some rules that are not allowed at all, which is about scoring. Maybe our friend here may be looking at it from another perspective. Completely. But in the aspect of sports, when it comes to sport itself, if you're talking about the contents of that sport, that's what I'm talking about. There is no brutality in the sporting aspect.
For karate.
For karate.
Well, it also seems your position is quite different from that of Mr. Akonde, because you feel UFC, boxing should not be abolished, just in the form of entertainment, kind of. But okay, let me come to you, Mr. Akonde. Well, don't you think it's the third order when you're talking about?
I'm aware of the challenges. I'm aware of the challenges.
Boxing, for instance, I mean, this a sport that has produced seminal figures: Rocky Marciano, Muhammad Ali, Joey Louis. We talk about
Jack Dempsey.
Even I mean,
Anthony Joshua, who is
UFC. Yes, you go to UFC. We talk about
this fight. No, it's still competing. They are competing.
So don't think it's just about competition.
Now, truth be told, but I am aware, first and foremost, I'm aware of the gargantuan task that lies ahead of me. And two, I have told anybody who cares to listen, this course may or might outlive me, but in the end, what I'm looking at is, did you speak up against the evils? The answer would be yes. I was on OGTV talking to the entire world about the need to come together and reason. There were times in the past boxing has been outlawed. It's just because of the money involved and distinguishing karate from boxing and the UFC. These two particular sports are on because owing only to the financial inducements. That's what I am saying.
But you don't have any problem with wrestling?
No. You see, for me, our traditional wrestling is okay. Even the professional kind of wrestling, as they call it professional, is unprofessional. What's professional about the kinds of violence that we see? And okay, they know, the promoters know that it is violent. That's why they put a warning on the TV that do not try this at home. They know what they are doing. I'm tired of a situation where Africans must always respond to the dictates, the whims and caprices of everything that is coming from the West. I don't personally like it. Okay, and what I'm doing is I'm not forcing this on people. A few colleagues, because I'm a lawyer, a few colleagues have also come up to say, but there is consent involved. I told them that, look, there are decided cases. The Queen against Coney, for instance, an 1882 case that was decided in the UK, in London. I think I can remember the citation, figure 8, Queen's Bench Division 534, sorry. Now, the judgment was that fighting bare knuckles will actually and does cause grievous bodily harm. Now, for some of you who are also enjoying and watching it, you are now being described by lawyer and by the bench as aiding and abetting it. You are aiding and abetting violence. All right. Now, but this is a decided case. But above all,
don't you think that every sport is, or every game, especially outdoor sports, is risky, even football? But anyways, before you respond to that, let's quickly take this short break. I'll be back shortly.
Are you a young person between the ages of 18 to 40 years, living in any part of Ogun State? Do you have a smartphone? Do you want to be financially independent, or do you want to earn between 100,000 naira and above per month working for yourself? Prince Dapo Abiodun led Ogun State government in collaboration with Access Bank PLC created an opportunity for you to become financially independent as agency banking agents. How to apply? Log on to https://bit.ly/close-agents. Fill biodata form and download the agency banking form. Go to the nearest Access Bank branch near you with 3 recent passport photographs, a recent utility bill, and a valid ID card. Alternatively, interested applicants can meet with Access Bank officials at the nearest local government secretariat between 6th and 7th of April 2021. Candidates are to go to the local government secretariat with 3 recent passport photographs, a recent utility bill, and valid ID card to apply. All applicants' forms must be submitted on or before Friday, April 9, 2021 at any Access Bank branch close to you. Ìgbéga ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn, àjọṣe gbogbo wa ni.
Welcome back. Well, our topic is combat sports, promoting friendship or brutality, and we have two guests in the studio, Mr. Tosin Akonde, boxing UFC abolitionist, and Coach pro-abolitionist, I beg your pardon, and Coach Adesonya Abayomi, martial arts and karate coach. Yeah, before we went on that break, I was going to ask you, I mean, every sport seems to me to be risky, even football. So, and yes, behind the scene you're talking about the dangers in boxing, but there's a referee who sees to this. Once there's a court, they will stop, the match will be halted.
Look, in interpreting a law, one of the best ways of doing so is to look at its history, look at the trajectory of the sport. Originally, before it was even called boxing, when it was called prize fighting, the point of cessation of fight was when one competitor is dead or is just unable to continue. And what we are saying is that this is the fine way to look at you. Isn't this woman lovely? Now, if you are promoting boxing and you are working and campaigning, even on the TV, on all kinds of media, you are campaigning against domestic violence, then you are a hypocrite. Who is fooling who? Because what it takes to do boxing is exactly what it takes to commit domestic violence. I'm not talking about from husband to wife alone now. I'm talking about even there are some women who beat up their husbands. They beat him silly. So, and now the same human being that is promoting boxing or violence and brutality in the name of sports will now come and start saying no to domestic violence.
But I'm not aware I'm not aware of any link between boxing and domestic violence. I think that's different.
Look, in law, we say, listen, in law, the mens rea is the mental element that is required, punches. So how would you deny that there is no link between domestic violence and boxing?
It's competitive. It's a form of entertainment.
Listen, my beloved brother and columnate, I believe, we're both black. I'm telling you, making a point here to you that there was a time boxing was being outlawed. Not until recently in countries like Norway, for instance.
Certain rules and laws were introduced.
What I am saying, for God's sake and crying out loud, is that black people do not have to follow whatever comes from outside. Mutatis mutandis. We don't have to follow it. Fishman, stickerman, and fisherman and boat. Anyway, we should have our auto. We have, for example, we have our own wrestling. And I just told you.
So you are not against that too?
Why should that? It's just for your back to touch the ground. It's not, no harm is done to your face in our Izakadi. No harm. No harm is done to your face. We should promote these things. Why can't it be part of the Olympics? Why can't we have Eke as part of the Olympics? We are telling you about the present world order. We are supposed to be playing a backward role. And I am saying, no, my people have now come of age. In fact, we have planned a legislative action on this. We can do something like this on the floor of the National Assembly. There are countries that outlawed boxing. They don't fight boxing there, and they have not died. What we are saying is that this thing, I'm looking at the totality, all of human beings. It's not fine. This is the best way to look at you. If you are going on your way and somebody say, okay, I challenge you to a duel, and then you won't come on set. You won't go and present the program on set. Nobody enjoys it. For some people, it's what we call it in Germany, they call it skating fair. Somebody who is just excited that another person is losing. Why should you be excited that somebody is being battered? Somebody is being beaten up? That is dehumanizing. Nobody likes it. And that's the sense I'm promoting, for God's sake. Okay. In the name of sport, no.
Coach Abayomi, let's look at the health aspect of sports. We know that health, they say, when you engage in sport or sporting activities, it builds your system up, and every organ works perfectly. So in the case of a combative sports, when you are being punched, will that system, will that cell work perfectly at that moment?
Actually, before you get into a competition, there are some health things you'll have checked. Okay. If you are not fit, you can't go in there. That's number one. Once you're not fit, you can't go and compete. So building the system starts with, we call it body conditioning. That is what combat sport did for you, does for you. by doing trying to doing press up, sitting, which also helps in those who like to do what's it called, build. Maybe you want to build more labs, you want to build more strength on your thigh. You do that by engaging on some exercises, and this exercise, different exercise works for different parts of the body. So that is how you develop strength in your body. But if you are not, for example, if you want to do karate or some martial arts, they will first of all ask you for your health condition. Are you asthmatic? Are you diabetic? So this allows the instructor to know what kind of exercise you can go through. But doing exercise and training, you build on your immune system. You build on your strength, which can help you to withhold anything you want to do. But during the competition, like I said, we are competing. We are not eating. Do you understand? We in karate, we do touch. Even judo, once you're on the floor, just like you said, once you're on the floor, they count the point. You don't eat.
You don't eat.
Do you understand? So in that aspect, we build our strength. If I have a boy we were training then, he was so fat. So after some 3 months into the training, before he can hardly walk a kilometer. So after months of training, before you know it, he's walking more than a kilometer, building straight. It can last long, even lifting things up. So from what you ask, karate, combat sport, in some martial arts, even combat sport as a general, you have to be fit.
Any sport.
For any sport, you have to be fit. It builds your immune system, it builds your strength, and most especially, it builds your psychology, your thinking. And it gives what we call this thing that you respond immediately, your instincts. Yes, exactly.
Okay. So, I mean, all these traits that you just mentioned, they're also applicable to boxing and UFC, because I wouldn't want you to do your analysis on karate alone, because
not karate alone.
Not karate alone. Beside you want UFC and boxing to be scrapped. So and I think you have a different position on that.
Yes, I have. From the question she asked about building your health, every martial arts, every other boxing, UFC, they are physically fit. It builds their health, it strengthens their immune, even their internal organs.
Every sport,
especially in karate, all those things. UFC, either you are UFC, as long as you are a martial arts person. But coming to the aspect is arguing about, which maybe if I'm not wrong, is that if you're looking at it from the entertainment point of view, it's a different case entirely. If you're looking at it from the health point of view, it's a different case entirely. If you look at it from the sport point of view, it's a different case entirely. So building your health with all these sports, UFC, the day I saw this like this one, you know that this guy is fit. The day he came to stadium, you know, even looking at it, and when you see some martial art people, you don't even argue, because the way they stand, the way they walk, you know, this person is physically fit.
Okay.
So building your health in that aspect, I know.
So despite the so-called brutality,
I'll take it further. If you are fit, the purpose for your fitness should be defined, should be curtailed from dehumanizing tendencies. Anybody can be fit. For example, even just with jogging or walking alone, a certain kilometers every day, you get fit. I'm talking about deliberate walking, not walking because you couldn't have transport fare or something. Deliberate, if you decide deliberately that and you swing your arms, you will be fit. But when you are fit, what do you do with your fitness? If you found love, what do you do with it, as the song says? So my take, I'm still saying the same thing. I'm aware of the challenges, but I know that with constant opportunity, as this, to educate and enlighten people, I think there's going to be a reverse. I have never thought that at a point something will not change. The history of mankind is replete with what we thought was impossible that later became possible. The Berlin Wall collapsed eventually at the advent of the 1990s. Slavery ended. Slavery, which lasted up to 500 years, the Atlantic slave trade, ended. So who told you that boxing, what we are talking about, at a point was outlawed for many years, especially with the fall of the Roman Empire? So I have done my research. I know what I am saying. And that's why I'm not afraid to face the entire world over this.
But instead of seeking total abolishment,
Abolition.
I mean, yes, don't you think maybe certain rules, should be introduced to make it?
It came as a natural thing.
I mean, in your
How
words.
can you make fighting less brutal, for example? There's no way you can make fighting less brutal. But still, all religions, all consciences all over the world frown at fighting. That's what I am trying to say. Let's think long and hard about this. There's nothing you can do about fighting when fighting starts. But the law will tell you that provocation will never be an excuse for you. You say, I was provoked, and then you went on to kill somebody, for example. You say, I'm a karate fighter. I'm sorry. No law will agree on such.
We're not fighting.
No. I'm just giving an instance.
Okay.
I'm just giving an instance. When it comes to competing or fighting with somebody for a prize or for something, there's nothing you can do. Instincts are involved. What we are saying is that all human beings frown at it. Some people will say, a lawyer was telling me that, but there's consent involved in this. And I tell him that consent is involved because the ground norm has not yet been scored or achieved. What is the ground norm? Abolish it. If you abolish it, slave trade, for instance, has been abolished. Nobody will go into slave trade now. Nobody will dare do it. Nobody will.
That's not a game.
That's not a game.
I'm telling you about thought patterns. I'm not saying games. I just use that as an example of thought. If you think something can never happen, don't say that. Don't join people to say you don't think it will happen. I'm telling you about, I repeated myself and I'm saying it again, that human history is replete with what we thought would never happen that came to happen. It's a thought. I'm talking about thought processes now. I'm not talking about is this one a game or is this one is not a game.
Coach Abayomi, do you agree with what he is saying?
He doesn't have to agree. It's his opinion. That's what I'm saying. He doesn't have to agree with me. It's his opinion.
So, the emphasis is making is that it's fighting. So, but in the context of I'm trying to come in, which is the sporting aspect. Do you understand? So that's the point I'm coming in. Is scoring a point. Once you score a point, you are the winner. So if from the point of the intimidation is part of the rules. It's part of will I say skills on how to there are sometimes strategy. Yeah, thank you for that word. Strategy. Tactics.
Techniques.
So sometimes, if I'm going on even to perform, we call it demonstration in karate. It's called kata demonstration. Sometimes when I'm buying to my opponent, there's a way I'll try to just look at him, just if he can, if he doesn't have confidence enough.
The weak point.
The weak point.
That's the psychological aspect.
That's the psychological aspect. That is what I feel mostly happens in boxing and UFC. Just try to use the Givian. Some people try to use
they match up and look at themselves. Ali excelled in that a lot in those days.
That's why someone like Bruce Lee is very, very slim. He tells you size does not matter. It's what you have in here. So, everybody has different tactics of what they use. But from the contents we are talking about, is it promoting friendship or brutality? To me, it's promoting a lot of friendship.
That's karate. That's karate.
To Mr. Akode, more brutality.
I wish we had videos of UFC for Madame to see, so that if you see it and you say is this entertainment or not.
But quickly, I know you are not alone in this. I know. There are also individuals in developed climes that also they're thinking.
They've been doing this.
So are you in touch? Are you in touch with them? Or are you also gathering maybe like minds?
Oh, of course. I'm embarking on getting like minds to promote this course. But I don't know. In Nigeria, this seems to be. I'm not sure, but this seems to be the first of such.
Okay, many thanks.
Lastly, I will wish our Ijakari is made an Olympic sport.
Okay, Mr. Tosi Akode and Coach Adesoya, Abayomi, martial arts and karate coach. So best of luck in your campaign.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
So that's it, but we're not done yet. We'll be back shortly for the second part of the discussion segment. Stay with us.